So, in planning the trip, the first thing that I needed was a bicycle that would handle it. You see, I made the decision not to use hotels, rather, to sleep alongside of the road for a number of reasons. First off, why would you want to get a good night's sleep when all you were doing was bicycling from coast to coast? Huh? Instead, I could sleep alongside of the road and stop wherever I wanted. That meant to me that I could ride like 20, 30 miles, whatever, take a break, rest if I wanted to, sleep, and then ride another 20, 30 miles, stop wherever I wanted alongside of the road, set up my tent and my air mattress and my sleeping bag, and I'm good for the night. Now, there's a downside to that thinking that it never occurred to me, which is a tent, a sleeping bag, and an air mattress all have what's known in the bicycling world as weight. That meant you had to haul them, and you were crossing America. The less weight you haul, the easier it is. But that never occurred to me. Remember, I'm 70 years old, so I don't think of everything like I used to. Anyway, I went out and I decided to buy a Trek bike. And it's a good bike. I ride it to this very day. I bought the Trek bike because you could put racks on it, or maybe it came with the racks. I really can't remember. And from those racks, you could hang bags. And in the bags, I could carry all my gear. So I bought the Trek bike, and then I went to REI, and I bought these bags, saddlebags for my bike, two for the rear, two for the front, and they were really terrific. I don't know whatever happened to them. Maybe I still have them in the attic, but they worked out really well. They were weatherproof and really rugged. So I could hang them front and rear, carry gear there, and put on the back the sleeping bag and the tent and the air mattress. And then with my big butt, altogether, that bike came in at about 290 pounds. Now, the maximum load for tires on bicycles, unless you upgrade, is about 300 pounds. So I was under the maximum load, so I felt fine. So much for the bicycle. Route planning. Okay, there's really two different paths that you can take to get from the West Coast to the East Coast. That is, you can take the San Francisco path, starting in San Francisco, and then ride all the way to the East Coast. Or you could take like the San Diego path, which is starting in San Diego and riding to the East Coast. That shows three. There you go, two different paths. Now, instead of San Diego, you could start in LA and ride across that way. The downside of riding across LA is twofold. One, it goes forever. And second, you may have to ride through some fairly sketchy neighborhoods, which I sure didn't want to do on a bicycle. Now, the downside of riding the San Francisco route is that you'd have to cross the Rockies. I made the wise decision to start April 1st, April Fool's Day, symbolic. To start in April so that I could ride April, May, and June and be done before the real heat of the summer hit. So I didn't want to take the San Francisco path because that crosses more of the Rockies, more mountains, and most importantly, in April, the Rockies, if you haven't been there, still have snow and ice and all that stuff on them. As a matter of fact, some of the campgrounds don't even open up till May. So that left me with the southern route, starting in San Diego, riding all the way across to Phoenix, up 75, Interstate 75 to Flagstaff and across from there. And that's the route that I chose. Another thing, when I was planning this route, I took a long look using Google Maps and Google Earth and planned it out with my good friend, Stephen Kirk-Villette. And when we looked at it and saw the whole route and used Google Earth, which will, if you've ever not used it, you can go forward and see what's coming up ahead. The trouble with that, and I didn't realize it, was Google Earth shows you, as you leap forward, click, 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 and you're leaping forward. And it looks like you're getting ready to climb this little bitty hill. In reality, when you actually see that hill, it goes like this because Google Earth, the way they film it, just shows you a little jump forward. It doesn't show you a long perspective. Still an excellent product. Another thing I ran into, I looked at Google Earth and I'd say, here's my start location, say X. And here's my finishing location for the day, 50 miles down the road, N. And the difference between these 2 points of elevation climb might have been, let's just say 1,000 feet. Okay, so big deal. I got to climb 1,000 feet during the day, or 1,500 feet, or 2,000 feet. No big deal. But the way it really works is here's your starting elevation. And what really happens is you start here and you go down and then up and then down and then up and then down and then up forever. So that the point between X and N may only be the 1,200 feet that was shown, but in reality, you climbed 10,000 feet that day because of the ups and the downs. And I didn't realize that. But that's the way I planned out the route. Okay, also in preparation, I had certain gear I needed to use. I'm wearing my bicycling shirt. I had 2 of these, and I'm a Vietnam veteran. And the shirt shows that I'm a Vietnam veteran, both on the front and on the back. I was doing this ride not only for my own, I'm 70 years old and crazy enough to ride across America by myself. Yes, I am, even though I didn't make it. But I wanted to raise money for the wounded warriors. If you're curious, I did raise a little over $6,000 for wounded warriors. If you're also curious, how much did this whole thing cost me? A little over $6,000. So I could have just written them a check, but then I wouldn't have had all these wonderful adventures that I'm recounting to you. And actually, some really great times thinking back on it and actually doing it and learning quite a bit about it. So along with the shirt, I wore bicycle shoes. Now, bicycle shoes, if you have the right kind of pedals, the pedal has a little clamp on it kind of thing, and the shoe snaps into it so that not only will you push down on the pedal, but you can also use your quadricep, that's a muscle in your leg, to pull up. So you're down and you're up and you're down. So you get more of your body musculature involved. And believe me, you're going to need it. So the other thing, I wore a little hat. Yes. Here we go. A little hat. And I know this looks stupid. See this little hat here. And the great advantage of the hat is you wore it underneath your helmet. So you wore it underneath your helmet, and the helmet snaps just like you'd think it would. Right there. So you wore it underneath the helmet, and then the sun, if it was in your eyes, you could just fold that down like that or just flip it up. So sun or rain or something like that, it was pretty convenient to have this hat, and that's what I used. And then you'd also want to wear riding glasses. To keep the stuff out of your eyes, particularly early in the morning when you're riding. Sometimes, even today when I go riding in the morning, you ride through these herds of bugs. And rather than having them pounding you in the eye, you wear the glasses. And another thing you want to wear is riding gloves. These are not actually riding gloves. I'm not sure where I did my riding gloves. I ride my bicycle in the morning to the gymnasium, and these are weightlifting gloves. They're very similar to riding gloves, except they've got this enhanced strap on them. And the bare fingers, so you can grab a hold, and they're really handy. The thing that I'm not going to show you, because I don't have them anymore, is my riding shorts. Now, riding shorts are a little odd because riding shorts have this gel in them so that you sit on this gel to protect you from getting saddle sores. If you want to ride long distances, you want a seat that's hard, not soft, because a hard seat, once you're used to it, you'll get less sores, whereas a soft seat moves more and it's harder to get used to, believe it or not. The seat I bought, a custom seat, it was English actually, and it's hard leather, and you put saddle soap on it to soften it up like you would a baseball glove. So that was the gear I had to do the ride. How I trained for this trip. The training continued my theme for the entire trip. That is, how to bicycle across the country for 70-year-old Morons. I live in Plano, Texas, which is a suburb of Dallas, and Plano is just about flat as a board. Now, I knew I would encounter at least a hill or two, having to cross the Rockies and then having to cross other mountain chains as I crossed the country. Too numerous to even mention. But I trained in Plano on flat ground. Now, I did ride 50 to 85 miles a day in all kinds of weather. I didn't let that stop me. But I did not ride on hills. It occurred to me I should go down to Austin, Texas, which is pretty hilly because you see, Austin is in the hill country, meaning there's hills. Not so in Plano. So, would you like to know how my training went in Austin? It didn't. Why? Remember the theme? Bicycling for morons? I never got around to doing it. But I did do like 3 months of training on my bike, 50 to 80 miles a day. And I thought that would be sufficient. Another bad idea. Logistics. Now, I needed to get everything from Plano, Texas, DFW Airport, out to San Diego. So the bicycle, you can ship that on an airplane. You can buy these cases and you take the bicycle apart and put it in the case. And I think the airline even sells you a box, but I'm not sure. The problem with the idea of using a case is, once I got out to San Diego, what am I going to do with that case? There are a couple $100 and I didn't want to just chunk it. So what am I going to do with it? So that idea didn't work. The second idea with using the airline box was, once I get it out there, then I have to have it all disassembled to put into that box. That means I got to sit there and reassemble it. So I didn't like that. I found the third option, which worked really well. There's a company called Bike Flights. And what they do is they send you a box and you disassemble your bike and put it into the box and then take it to FedEx, who Bike Flights has a partnership with, and they will ship it to wherever you tell them to. Now, it turns out about a half a mile from the San Diego airport, there was a bicycle shop. So this worked great. I called the bicycle shop, told them I wanted to ship the bicycle to them. I wanted them to take it out of the box, reassemble it, check everything over so it's good to go, and then I would pick it up on April 1st. April Fool's Day once again. And they said, fine. And I did that. I sent it on out there, and that was great. Now, another problem I had, logistics-wise, is, remember, I'm going to sleep alongside the road out in the wild. So I wanted to have some self-protection. So what I did was I brought my Marine Corps K-bar, there you are, which is a fighting knife. Now, that was for self-protection, so I thought as long as there was only maybe 10 or 20 of the enemy, I was fine. More than that, I might have a little problem. So I brought that. Now, you can't take fighting knives onto the airplane, so you got to pack that in with your luggage, which is what I did. The third thing I did was I needed to get these saddlebags with all the gear and my tent and my sleeping bag and my air mattress and my fighting knife out to San Diego. So what I did, I went and bought heavy duty, tough boy, shipping boxes, really thick cardboard. And I packed 2 bags in each, 2 saddlebags in one, 2 saddlebags in another, and then the tent, sleeping bag, air mattress in a third. Okay. And then I put my K-bar in one of those. Then I went and got rolls of really tough tape, and I wrapped it that way, and then wrapped it this way, and then wrapped it this way, and then wrapped it that way. This sucker was sealed because I didn't want anything to happen to it. So I went to the airport, and if you're wondering, I wore my bicycle uniforms because, remember, I wanted to travel as light as possible. I was already up to like 280 pounds. So I had on my Vietnam bicycling shirt, right, and my bicycling shorts, which I showed you in a previous video. Remember, they're a little weird. They've got the big pads and all that stuff. So there I am in the airport with my bicycle uniform on. And I don't know if I was wearing my helmet or if I shipped it. I can't remember. To be honest with you, I think I was wearing it. Anyway, So there I am, and I got a few weird looks, but they saw my Vietnam veteran shirt, and they figured I was crazy anyway. So no real trouble. So I caught the plane, everything was fine. It was an uneventful flight. Flew on out to San Diego, got in early, 8 o'clock, something like that. Took the first flight in the morning, got out there 8:30, and went to the luggage claim and found all three of my boxes, took them down, and sat down there at the luggage claim with the boxes around me, and thus entered into the first problem of the day, which I will describe in the next video where I describe day one.